Welcome to the Leader Impact Podcast. We are a community of leaders with a network in over 350 cities around the world, dedicated to optimizing our personal, professional, and spiritual lives to have impact. This show is where we have a chance to listen and engage with leaders who are living this out. We love talking with leaders, so if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions to make this show even better, please let us know. The best way to stay connected is through our newsletter at leaderimpact.ca or on social media at LeaderImpact. I'm your host, Lisa Peters, and we welcome to our podcast guest Devonia DeBeck, who is an inspiration for anyone on their own entrepreneurial or leadership journey. Devonia began her career helping clients build their own great careers in her role as executive search consultant. After 12 years, she transitioned to a career in real estate, but soon fell in love with the beautiful homes and the stories that sparked joy in the hearts of the families she met. With that love, Devonia became a certified home stager and completed an Interior Decorating Diploma and launched the DEBECK Group, Profit Surge Staging, and Devonia DeBeck Interiors. Devonia has decorated and staged beautiful spaces for both corporate and residential clients with the goal of creating living and working spaces that people love to live and thrive in. And the journey didn't stop there. Devonia has always found herself championing people and soon added life coaching to her portfolio. Devonia now coaches clients on how to define the lives they are searching for. Join us now for a conversation with Devonia DeBeck as we chat the perspectives of living a life designed to exceed in our personal, professional, and spiritual lives. Welcome, Devonia.
Hi, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I'm kind of excited because the first time I ever saw you was an interview, and you were interviewing some leaders, and I'm going to say from around the world because one of them was from Sweden.
Yes.
And there was an interview with Pierre Frappe,
Yes.
the president and CEO of AMJ Campbell Van Lines. And in his interview, he said something about, with COVID, lives are changing and people are moving and they're just, they want to change their lives. And that was the first time I heard the Great Resignation.
Yes.
And then I realized, I put it together. You're a business coach. You're part of people going, I'm done. I want to change my life. I want to be happier. It's time. So I'm super excited to share this time with you today.
Well, thank you. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
All right. Well, we will get started. Now, before we get into the DEBECK Group and all the amazing, your whole entrepreneurial journey, can you share with our listeners a little bit about yourself growing up, and maybe we can understand where all this energy and entrepreneurship comes from?
Yes, it's funny. I am the first generation Canadian. My parents were immigrants here back when the first Prime Minister Trudeau opened the borders for immigrants. And my mom first came and then brought my father over, but came really for a better life for herself and a better life for family. And I think most immigrants come to Canada looking for a better life. So, here we were. I was a first generation Canadian with Caribbean parents trying to navigate how to be North American or Canadian. But, the bar was always very high. My mother was always had great expectations anyways for herself and for life. And she certainly had that for us as kids. And so, as kids, we were always taught that we had to do better than everyone else. You got an A, it should have been an A+. My mother had the best of intentions. She really wanted us to excel. But one of the things she navigated or weighed that out for us as immigrants was, partly because of our race. She really felt that because we were Black kids, that we had to try harder, we had to be better. And so, we spent, we were always pushing ourselves. We made a certain achievement and we were on to the next because we were groomed to always try to succeed and be better. So I think it probably took me well into my adult years before I started to kind of redefine or retell that vision for myself because it was so ingrained in me from my upbringing.
Yeah. How many kids are in your family?
I have a younger brother and an older sister.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
and I'm assuming they had all the same expectations.
Yeah, we all were pushed to be better, and my mother had great expectations that she'd get a lawyer and a doctor in the family, and we all disappointed her.
Oh, no.
I did. I had a glimmer. She had a glimmer of hope with me. I was a court reporter for a short period of time while I was going to university, but that was great. Great time for me to recognize I didn't want to be a court reporter. And my sister actually became a nurse, so she wasn't the medical doctor, but in the certain direction that my mother was leaning us towards, anyways. So yeah.
Wow. So it's funny, you talk about your mom just pushing you, always doing the next thing. Probably, you master one thing, you're on to the next thing. Just reading your bio, you've moved through a few things. I see a beautiful transition of all the things seem to be connected, but it's amazing how that's ingrained in you. Is
Yeah, you we are a product of our childhood and our upbringing, right? And you can use it against yourself, or you can use it as that's just the tapestry of who we are, right? And so uh, I think it's an incredible gift that my mother gave me and gave all my siblings. However, we had to grow into that and kind of redefine it for ourselves, or because a lot of times we used it against ourselves until we really matured and found our own voice and our own rhythm. So um, yeah, so that's, but we were fearless in terms of change. So that was a beautiful part of it. Yeah.
that is a beautiful thing to learn, fearless
Yes.
of change. So I'm going to move on to a little bit more of your professional, your professional journey. Just asking you to share a little bit about it, how you've moved through life to where you are, and were there any pivotal moments that you kind of went, or a pivotal moment that just moved you forward, propelled you in a direction?
Yeah, uh I went to university thinking I was going to go to law school and realizing through my part-time jobs that no, this wasn't for me, but always was very entrepreneurial spirited and started in business school. I helped people find jobs as an executive search consultant in my first professional career, partly while I was going to university, and then I graduated and continued. And worked for a number of companies in executive search and helping companies find senior people in their jobs or senior professionals for their companies. Such a beautiful time to speak to people and get to know. Once you finish the surface conversations, you get to know them as people, even that short window of time, and really see their hearts and their ambitions. And family will always weighed in that, what they've wanted for their family and a better life. Um, and that reflected in my mind too. What did I really want for myself? And always entrepreneurial spirit. And so I thought I'd take a risk and see what I wanted to really do. And I always loved design and decorating and transitioning spaces. But at the time, I didn't know any architects or interior decorators, and the bar was medical school or law school, right? So I didn't have any of those goggles on. But my mother was she left corporate and got her real estate license, and then convinced my dad to get his real estate license. So hence, when I was looking for an entrepreneurial thing to do, I got my real estate license, right? So we're a family of realtors to start with. And but after doing that for a little while, one of the things my passion really started to bloom. That's where I discovered that I really love transforming spaces, looking at people's homes and going, no, we've got to do something here if we're going to do the best for you, right? So started moving their
Oh,
furniture around and started taking things off their walls and moving it around, started bringing things out of my own house to decorate their space way back in the beginning. And then
funny.
fell in love with design and away you went. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I think of I've only sold one house, I think, and they weren't that. They didn't come in and just you need to do, and
Yeah.
maybe they told me, but like yeah, just sell it, just But to have someone
Yeah.
very cool. So, a family of real estate agents. I love that.
Yeah, and just to echo the ambition of my mother and how we were groomed, by the time I hit high school, we had moved 13 times, And it was because my mother was always upgrading with real estate. So, we got into a house, we stayed there for a while, we moved. We got to another house, we bought. Sometimes we had to rent before the other house was ready, but we moved all these times because of the great ambition to be successful, also through real estate. So,
Very cool.
yeah.
Again, not afraid to change, just keep moving.
Yes. Yes.
So then you loved real estate, obviously realized, okay, I love the decorating part,
Yes.
and you kept moving.
Yeah. So, I went to design school, got graduated and became accredited interior decorator. And before you knew it, the agents were asking me to stage their clients' homes and other people's homes. And before you knew it, I went from moving a few things in people's houses to buying inventory and hiring people to help me, and it bloomed into a beautiful business. And I really found my calling, my real love of helping people transition their spaces and really seeing the joy it brought them. Even if they were selling it, they were just so full of joy. I mean, I like sometimes you see joy with your kids, and when they're laughing and you just pure joy comes out of them. When I transform homes and people come back and they see their spaces, whether they're moving or in transitioning and redoing their space that they're going to live in, there's such a element of joy and peace and that they get out of it that is just so. I just so grateful that God uses these hands to do that.
Yeah.
So.
So do people ever get afraid of, you're going to come in and just, I don't know, do these changes that they're not going to like? Do they
Well,
ever get a, yeah.
where they're really fearful? They're fearful that I'm going to come in and criticize their personal style. And that's just not me. If anybody knows me, I'm like, there's so much small talk about, oh, I like that. Where's the history of that? Where'd that come from? What's that picture about? So really blending, like, I mean, at the end of the day, it has to feel like them and not like me, because that's where the real joy happens. But I love when they call me and say, Devonia, I just come home at the end of the day and I go into the living room, which is now my reading room. Even the dogs like it. So I basically I'm rated by pets as well.
Look at you, rated by pets.
That's right.
So I'm so far loving your just the progression of your career, because I think you didn't know about interior decorating, but you were in real estate and you saw it. I feel like these doors just slowly opened for you.
Yeah.
From executive search to because now you're coaching. So I go right back to the
Yes.
executive coaching, or the search that you were putting people in their jobs years ago, and now you're helping people define their lives.
Yeah, coaching, because I think all my life I've always been coaching. People have watched all the transition I've made and how I've navigated, careers and things like that. And they're always asking, always. And I think one of the things, everybody has a gift. I think I'm the great encourager. I always love to encourage people, and I think that kind of blends nicely with coaching. I I had a heart for encouraging people, and when COVID happened, and when COVID first happened, everybody kind of held their breath for a moment to see what direction were things going to fall apart, or how were they going to evolve. And I thought, well, if the real estate market crashes, usually, decorating might be a part of that. I need to make sure I'm resilient and I have something else to do. So I got certified as a life coach so I call COVID life coaching certification my COVID project. And
COVID
um,
bonus.
yes,
Yep.
6 months
Good.
later, I certified as a life coach and started coaching people as well. So but it's so much joy to help people and to encourage them and help them to see the jewel of who they are, because sometimes you just can't see it, and you just need people to look and help you see what you're not seeing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it leads me into my next question, because I think of, you just said with COVID, it happened to you and the changes, and, where's interior decorating going to go? And I mean, unexpected or expected changes, or maybe people have had no change. What would you tell a person who maybe is searching to define their life? Um, where would you tell a person to begin?
Well, I think people should go to the basics. Your values, morals, what resonates with you, and try to create your own. I was listening to Andy Stanley. He called them guardrails. When you're out of sync and you're hitting the guardrails or you're over the guardrails, So if you really define your values, your morals, what's important to you, for me, it's my faith and my walk with God. And if I'm doing something that is challenging that, I know I'm out of sync.
Oh,
So
okay.
sometimes I call it filters. Sometimes I call it guardrails. Even when I'm coaching and people are questioning, doubting if they're doing the right thing, I said, okay, let's get your guardrails in place, or your filter in place, and then as you go through life, you filter things through that. If it doesn't work, then okay, something's out of whack. If it filters through, you still feel you're in line with your values, still feel you're in line with whatever your guardrails are, your faith, uh, you know, um, what's important to you, then move forward and know that you're doing it from a good place. Even if it goes awry, even if it doesn't line up with other people's views, in your belly, it will feel okay. You know, so I like that idea of just spending some time and really understanding that for yourself so that you can move through the world with a little bit more confidence, and stop second guessing yourself all the time, right?
I think that's a big one is second guessing. I think we need to just, um, you know, make the move and try it. Just
Yes.
take the opportunity and do it. And if it doesn't work, it's not a failure. You did something. You learned
Yes.
something from it. This is like a coaching
Absolutely.
session for Lisa. How am I doing? I love these podcasts.
Yeah,
I get a little of
yeah.
my own in. Yeah.
Even the other day, I was, because we're all professionals, we're all having the human experience. Nobody gets away without having stress or worry or what have you. It's just how you deal with it so you can move forward. And, the last couple of days I've been thinking about it, I thought, I'm going to get up. I have a clean piece of paper. I have a clean slate. I decide what I'm going to write on that paper today. So stop stressing, stop getting in your head, and decide, how am I going to write my day out on that paper? How am I going to evolve today that at the end of the day, I wrote the script of my day, So trying to tell myself I have a clean slate that and I'm the creator of whatever goes on that piece of paper today, sometimes just helps give a sense of calm and a little bit of, I'm okay, I'm in control of where this is going to go. So,
Yeah. Because if you
yeah.
don't define your day, someone else will,
Oh, yeah.
you know? And next thing you know, your day got sucked up and you didn't get nothing done for yourself, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
you earlier said your filter is faith.
Yes.
You have a faith filter. Can you just tell us a little more about that?
Well, a common question for people, I guess, in the Christian world is, when did you give your life to God, or when did you find faith? And I always tell people I was pretty well born in the church. My father always went to church. He always took us to church. We always went on I remember being in the Lucy bus Sunday school, and, going on the Lucy bus, and the bus would come and drive us to church. So I was always in church. So, I don't know when exactly I found faith, but it has always been my my anchor and my navigator. And some days, times in life, you're really entrenched in marinating yourself in the Word and your faith and all that. And sometimes you're just, you're busy and it's happening, but it's more of a sidebar than a very focused. But it's always there for me. It's always the underbelly. That it's always the undercurrent. It's always the guide. And it's, when things, no matter how things go well or not well, I always feel that I have that anchor, that I have that I can come back and pray it out. Those tough times when you want the answer to be one way and the answer is obviously the other way, and you just cannot have peace with it. I finally have to just say, okay, God, you're bigger than me. I give it to you. I give up. You're going to create something way better than I'm going to create it. So it's all yours. And I find that very peaceful for me to just say, you created this planet, so I can't outdo you. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you're going to do.
I like how, yeah, you just go ahead. I'm gonna watch.
That's right.
So before I move on, because I want to hear more about your spiritual journey, I think it's going to be good. I want to ask a little bit more about filters. I think people are listening, going, I. What are some examples? Can you share some, like, what are some examples people have as filters? Is that a good question?
Or guardrails,
Or
right?
guardrails, right?
Yeah. So, it could be in relationships, right? It's funny, when I first started dating my husband, before we got married, or when we were just married, um, I got married later in life. I was 40 before I got married. And my husband was on a second marriage. So when you wait that long to be married, you're like, I'm doing
Yeah,
this right as best as I can. And
you have
so
filters. I
so
got
one of
married
the
at 30.
things
I had
as a
filters.
realtor, one of the things as a realtor or a business professional, you're always giving out cards. Oh, I'm a realtor. Here's my card. Here's my card. Here's my card. Well, a couple of times, some gentlemen decided they were going to use that card as a prospecting of, a personal relationship. And so I just knew, for me, if I ever wanted my marriage to work, I would not encourage those conversations, even though they might be a compliment or make me feel good about me. And so I used to hand the phone over to my husband. If somebody would call me, and I'd be like, "Why are they calling me? And what's with the provocative talk?" I would hand it over to my husband. My
Wow.
husband would go, "Hello," and they're like, "Oh." And then he'd go, "Why are you calling my wife?" And they would like, blah, blah, blah. So I just made it, so because of that habit and that mindset for myself, there's no such thing as innocent flirting for me. That was my guardrail for my marriage. Um, or my guardrail for my marriage again. um One of the things my husband and I do, that we don't even know that we do it anymore, that we don't even use each other's names anymore. We use love and honey and all that stuff, not to be right, but it's just the love talk in my brain that keeps me, when I get mad at little things, it
Oh,
still centers me. It still reminds me that this is my guy that I asked God for. So I got to take care of him. So it's those little guardrails. Like, it could be anything. It could be, I don't curse. I won't say that the people in my life don't curse, but for me, it just helps me stay with a level of self dignity and respect for others. Not that everybody is going to live their life and speak it in their own way, but that is my personal guardrail to remind me on respecting others. So different things are going to be people's guardrails, right? Different things are going to be people's filters, but I think it's important to take some time and think about it, so that you honor it when you need to, when and it just flutters to your head, and you're like, yeah, we're not crossing that line.
has there ever been a guardrail of surrounding yourself with good people? There's some people around you that are just not good for you, and
Yeah,
is that a is that an example of a filter?
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, and the thing is, some people can be around those people who are not good for you, but they might be okay for other people. But you have to define that guardrail or that filter for yourself. It's like people who want to give up drinking. Maybe they like, I can't be, maybe they're like, I can't be in the bars. I can't be with this person because they're always drinking and they always want to go out and drink and do shots and things like that. So you really have to, it could be people, it could be self-talk. It could be, no, I'm no longer going to berate myself. I'm not going to speak to myself how I would never speak to somebody else, you know. Um, but it takes time, right? You have to sit down and spend some time with it, and or else you're just all over the place, and people will say things and you'll just do whatever, right? And you'll feel one day you'll get to a place and you'll feel lost. um, and I find the guard, even if when you get to a place and you feel a little bit out of kilter, I find the guardrail helps to, or the filter helps to center you.
Yeah. I think we need to sit down and write those down. We need to take the
Absolutely.
time. Yeah.
And you grow out of some of them, right? Sometimes you mature, they change, when you become a mother, those, before your priorities are very different from when you become a mother. Now it's like, no, I cannot go out and hang out with the girlfriends all the time. Now all
Right.
the girlfriends get one birthday visit each, and so they change. Yeah. Yeah.
Good. All right. All right. Well, we're going to move on a little bit to your spiritual journey. You started a little bit about it. You grew up in the church, but tell us a little bit more about it if you have anything more to share about your church maturity.
you know, um I find that when I had those big things in life that happened, my faith was what kept me kept my feet on the ground when I wanted to spiral away. Getting married in my 40s and never having children, um, that was a hard pill for me to swallow. And my husband, when we got married, he said, "Yeah, sure. I have 3 girls already, but for you, I will have another child." Right. But then my 3 stepdaughters, my youngest one started having a family early. And once my husband became a grandpa, he didn't want to have that conversation anymore. And that was a hard pill for me to swallow. And I truly believe my relationship with God and my faith is what got me through that hard pill, because after a while some things are just not to blame other humans. I just felt that if God wanted me to be pregnant and have a child, it would have happened. People get pregnant. Some people laugh and say, my husband just looks at me and I get pregnant. So, but it just didn't happen for me. And it took me a long time. It took me a good year and a half to get over that disappointment. But now when the grandbabies call me grandma and, snuggle up, then,
Oh,
it all changes. It's all good. It's all good. But, yeah, and yeah, so my faith has really helped me through those hard things where you want to blame everybody and anybody, and at the end of the day, I just say God has big shoulders and I can blame him, and then he'll help me kind of come to terms with where I should stand on
yeah.
this. Yeah.
So, what is something you live by?
um you know I think it kind of resonates in what I just said, but one of the most recent, this year, my quote for the year is going to be, uh, be still and know that I am God," because I'm a person who likes to be involved in so many things, and then I'm always, so I'm always aspiring, I'm always planning, I'm always trying to achieve something, and sometimes frustrated on my journey. So I love the phrase to live by, be still and know that I'm God. If it's tough, just be still and let me, God, let me do the heavy lifting, or let me direct you, or let it evolve from me, as opposed to Devonia, you trying to
Mhm.
manipulate everything that happens. So
Oh, we try so hard.
sometimes I miss that I think COVID has helped me a little bit
Hmm.
to really appreciate being still,
I would
and
agree.
know that there's goodness and stillness as well.
Yes, I have
Yeah.
learned that as too. Now, in our pre-interview, I was a month ago.
Yes.
You shared a story, and I want you to share it again. A little bit about meeting your husband.
Yes.
Because it is such a good story. Well, yes, it's a good story. So. I would like you to share it.
Well, I met my husband when I graduated high school. I traveled around the world with a group called Up with People. And Up with People, you may have known them from, they've done the Super Bowl. We travel around the world doing community service around the world in a 2-hour professional musical. And we're invited to cities that we go to. We don't just show up. We get invited. Sometimes, a big company wants to say thank you to all their employees around the country. So they invite us to go to each city and perform. Once, in the South, I remember we were invited once to a university because the sorority, there's a black sorority, and they had a cross burning. Somebody burnt a cross on the lawn of the sorority, and that just fractured the whole
Wow.
community. And then they brought Up with People in to help bond the community. So Up with People is students from all over the world who come learn this professional musical, travel around the world performing it, travel around the world doing community service, and we're together for a whole year. And we
Yeah.
live with the host families. We don't stay in hotels. We invite families to host the cast, the students. And so that's how I met my husband. I met my husband. He was from Nebraska and I was from Toronto. He's a little older than me. He had finished university and just started teaching, and I had graduated high school, worked a little bit, and then traveled with Up with People. So
Mhm.
we dated for a little bit, and then he decided that he was going to stop after a year and go back to work. And I decided that I'd travel for another year around the world. But unbeknownst to me, we got very close. Unbeknownst to me, he was teaching at a performing arts high school in a very affluent white area, but the school was in the center of it, and it was predominantly a black school. So I have visited him maybe 3, 4 times
Mhm.
within a year, and so we were an interracial couple. He was a white young man from Nebraska, and I was a black girl from Canada, from Toronto. And so we didn't see much of each other, but when we saw each other, we were in the environments. But unbeknownst to me, when I was traveling, he was receiving death threats about
Oh.
d- dating a person of color, dating a black person. And so here's this poor guy. He had no idea where it was coming from. He'd have notes on his car, notes at his
Oh.
house, notes all over the place, and he was being threatened, and he had no idea where it was coming from. So for a year this was going on, and I had no idea it was going on. And so when I finished my second year of travel, he just said, you know what, I he didn't know what to do. And he said, I just don't know if I can raise a family,
Oh.
worrying that worrying about the death threat of a relationship. And
Yeah.
so we went our separate ways, and that was a hard pill for both of us to swallow, but we went our separate ways. And later to find out that he found out that other people were also having those threats, but nobody talked.
Mhm.
So we went our separate ways. 20 years later, I never spoke to him again. And 20 years later, at the 20-year reunion year, he reached out to some old friends, and they said, hey, at that time it was a Yahoo page. So he said, hey, we're all on a Yahoo page. And he posted a little blurb about his life and his Yahoo page. He had 3 daughters, and he had been divorced for a couple of years. And I sent him a little email and said, hey, old friend, how you doing? And, you know, um, within 6 months of that email, we were married. So there you go.
I
So what
love
is
it.
meant to be will be. That was one of the mottos that I live by, is what is yours will be yours. You do not have
Oh,
to worry about it, even if it takes time. Who's meant for you will be yours. So
it just took a lot of time. I
yeah,
think that's the hard part
yes, yeah,
is the anger. Like it's like just let this happen and speed it up. And that was
yeah.
20 years.
Yeah, yeah, and I had never married, never really, not because I was waiting for him. I thought I didn't think anything I never thought of him again. Well, I mean, I thought of him again, but I never pursued anything like that. So yeah,
Wow. Thank
yeah.
you for
So
sharing.
yeah. So we're 14 years in, and he moved to Canada. So
All right. And three daughters and
and
grandchildren now.
three lovely stepdaughters and three lovely grandbabies now. Yeah.
Wow,
Two
that's
COVID
wonderful.
babies.
Ooh,
Yeah.
and you're getting your snuggles in.
Yes, I
All
am.
right. So I'm going to ask you a little bit about Leader Impact.
Yeah.
How did you get involved with Leader Impact Group?
I have a friend who we created our own little mastermind business group together, and we're friends for a while. And she had joined with a couple ladies who launched the women's part of mastermind when it first of Leader Impact when it first started, and probably about a year in or so, she asked me if I was be interested in just coming and seeing what it was all about, and I never left. so so it's been wonderful, and everybody's been so gracious, and it's such a beautiful just the beautiful journey of all the wonderful leaders and women that I've met, and men leaders as well. So I've really enjoyed um, learning and sharing and fellowshipping with all these great leaders.
Yeah. So are you in a all ladies group, or are you in a co-ed group, or?
Good question. So I'm in an all ladies group, and our group grew and grew, and then we broke into two different groups, and now my new group is already growing, and so probably sometime in the mid year, I might start a new group because this group is doing so well together. Although I love these ladies, I'm just so passionate about people finding this group and finding their community. Like these ladies, and I think a lot of us feel this way, is that they look forward to coming Thursday. We do our
Yes.
Thursday morning, and they're like, "This is my happy time." As even though it's so early in the morning, I hate missing. I love coming here. I feel that as a leader, sometimes the more senior you get, the less people take care of you because you're taking care of people. So this is their community to have each other love on each other and take care of each other.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I love that. And I mean, I know it's so hard to start a new group. I just started a new group, and it's a virtual group. So we've got
Yes.
people from all across Saskatchewan, and
Okay.
yeah, and we've met, I think, twice as of we're filming this, and it's been a joy. Um,
Yes.
so what are you studying right now, or are you reading a book, or?
Yeah, I'm reading a book called Refresh. And I apologize. I wish I had the person's name. It's actually a couple who wrote it together. And it really is helping us to, especially as leaders and overachievers, to to just give ourselves permission to let go of a lot of things and where to find our how to get our lives um, you know, uh, overused phrase is imbalance, but what takes us out of balance and how to refresh ourselves, all right?
Oh,
And how, as women, the husband wrote the male version and the wife wrote the female version, but they wrote them together, but then um, broke off the sections that they thought would resonate with their own gender. Um, but it's been really great to and especially at the beginning of the year to start with that book.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
And I think the best part is just sharing it with other
Yeah.
leaders,
You
because
know
you can read a book and you read it, but
yeah.
when you share it, you have to dive deep.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
the funny thing is about our group with Leader Impact is that our women, we're not the women in our group, they're not afraid to say, "You know what? I don't agree with the writer, and this is how I would write it differently," or "This is my perspective on that point." So, just because the book's in print doesn't mean that it's gonna get, I just love seeing these strong, women confident women who are like, "You know what? That's not my experience, and I would do differently." We learn so much from each other, and it's so refreshing to to see. people courageously put their hand up and say, no, I don't buy into that, you know?
And to have such a safe platform to do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is one of my questions I ask everybody. Leader Impact is
Yes.
about your impact through your leadership. So, have you considered what you want your faith legacy to be when you leave this world?
I think really that people would say that I was an encourager, that they were always felt uplifted and encouraged, you know, because I don't think I could go up to heaven and tell God that, I created some beautiful spaces.
They were really pretty.
Because he said, look, did you see the planet? That was what I did, right? so, so, so
Good
I
one.
can't compete on that. So, but I do love that God has inspired me to be an encourager, and it's my happy place where I feel that I'm helping people to see and to revisit and be encouraged by what they might have been challenged by.
Yeah, I love that. I think sometimes we think it has to be grand. It has to be a big legacy that I leave. I got to leave a big impact. It's like, nope,
Yeah,
encourage, which is
yeah,
huge.
yeah,
I mean, if you think back on your life of the people that encouraged you, I mean, for you, I just think of
absolutely.
your mom. Your
Yes,
mom, you know?
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And maybe as a parent, and I don't have my own kids, but I have my stepdaughters and then my nieces and nephews, and I just always want to encourage them and just tell them how great they are as who they are, and that their job on this planet is not to be like anybody else. Their job on this planet is to really find their unique person, of who they are. So,
Oh,
and then I'm just looking, I'm so excited to be your aunt. I'm so excited to see what you're going to do next, things like that. So, yeah, I think they just roll their eyes at me now, but
that's what they do. Oh, my cheeks hurt, Devonia. I love your share. It's good shares. So, my final question, which I love asking, is what brings you joy? But you've shared so much joy.
Yeah.
But if there was one thing,
You know what? I love to you know, we have moved away from the formalities of life, and I was brought up with my mother, with tablecloths and cloth napkins and all that stuff. And I have so much joy spoiling my guests when they come to my house. The table is set. There's flowers on the table. Uh, it may be the fine china. It may be just regular china, but it's thoughtful on my behalf because it's my gift to my client or my gift
oh,
to my guest. And I just take so much joy of seeing how excited and how special they feel this is for them, and just seeing them just relax and nestle into the environment. And my husband and I, we love it when our of course I decorate and all that stuff, and people are like, oh, your place must be beautiful or whatever, but we love to see people really sink into our sofa and put their feet up on the sofa and really feel pampered and spoiled by us. And we have so much joy that way.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a beautiful mood. I feel the
Yeah.
serenity, and what a beautiful gift to give
Yeah.
your guests. That is a beautiful gift.
We love entertaining, and you know my husband, my stepdaughters, they've gotten used to me now. They're like, oh, here comes the tablecloth and the cloth napkins, okay, and the pretty plates.
Do you do it at their house too? Do you go into their own house?
Yeah, my middle stepdaughter, she bought a house, and when we went to visit her in Texas, I was like, "Oh, my gift to you." And so I went to town, and she's like, "Oh, thank you, Devonia." And so I
Oh,
kind of, I said to my husband, "What's the budget? I need to help her get her kitchen breakfast area all decked out a little bit." And once it was transformed, we spent so much time in that kitchen having conversation and playing games, and so I love creating those environments that people feel like, they want a nest, so the girls get it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, Devonia, for just sharing the last 45 minutes with us. My cheeks hurt from the smiles. I feel
Yeah.
joy just talking to you.
Oh,
Thank
good,
you.
good.
And I loved hearing about your family, and just the you really were designed to exceed.
Oh,
Your mother encouraged you, and your whole life for me as I listened was just a transition. So thank you for sharing this
well,
last.
thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed this. I so appreciate it.
Oh, anytime. Well, so this ends our time with you. But if anyone wants to reach out with you or engage with you, where can they find you?
Yeah. If you go to DeBeckInteriors.com, even if you want coaching, there's a place there that you can reach out to me directly, and then I'll pick up their comments there as well. So, yeah,
All right. Well, thank you, Devonia. It's been a pleasure sharing this time with
thank
you.
you so much. I truly appreciate it. This is a lot of fun.
All right. Well, I want to thank you all for joining us. We've said any books or anything, there's going to be some show notes, so check those out. But if you're part of Leader Impact, you can always discuss or share this wisdom with your group. And if you're not yet in Leader Impact Group, we would love to have you. Check out groups available in your area at leaderimpact.ca or get in touch with us and we will connect you. Stay in touch with our newsletter at leaderimpact.ca or on social media, or get in touch with us at info@leaderimpact.ca. And if you like this podcast, please leave us a comment, give us a rating or a review. This will help other leaders find our podcast. Thank you for engaging with us. And remember, impact starts with you.